Ça me fait extrêmement plaisir d'être ici avec vous. Merci d'être venu en si grand nombre. Et sans plus tarder, j'aimerais vous présenter le prochain député de Sudbury, the next MPP for Sudbury, Jamie West.
Merci, France. Thank you very much. It's really an honor to be here with you and the kind words that you said. Before I begin, I think it's important we acknowledge that we're on Indigenous territory from people who have been here with the First Nations from the beginning of time. And we recognize the treaty territory of the Huron-Robinson and the Atikokan and Anishinaabe. I want to thank you, France, for being a champion for not only Nickel Belt, but for Sudbury, and for all that you do for the health care that we all care about and depend on. It's so important to us. I also want to thank everybody else who is here for coming out. This is absolutely fantastic. I know it's rush hour, and to see everybody here is amazing. It's amazing to be surrounded by so many strong New Democrats, our activists, our volunteers, and our friends who we've known for years, and our friends who are excited for the change to better, who have just shown up in this last campaign because we know we're going to be doing good things for the people of Ontario. It's my honor to introduce our next speaker, and it's not a secret who it is, but but it absolutely is my honor. I mean, Andrea is absolutely a tireless advocate, a hard worker, and actually dedicated to what's important to the people of Ontario. She's put herself, and she's a champion for hardworking families and the public services that we care about. I've known Andrea for almost 10 years now, and I can tell you firsthand that I have witnessed her passion and her dedication, and I know that this plan that we have, this Change for Better plan, comes out of the dedication of making Ontario a better place for everyone, our families, your family, my family, and families all over this province. It's so exciting to be part of this and to be your candidate. I want you to know, I grew up in the Donovan. I lived in Sudbury housing, and I was poor when I grew up. And I remember thinking that government didn't care about me. They didn't care about me or my family. They didn't care about your families. It seemed like government wasn't there to help average people who were worried about trying to keep a small business running or trying to keep getting to work on time or paying rent or their mortgage. It felt like government only cared about people who were already wealthy, people who were already successful or well-connected. People who least needed help got the most help. And people like me and my friends didn't get anything from government. And that is not an NDP government. That's the bad to worse government that we're talking about. We have an opportunity for real change and change for the better with Andrea and the NDP, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be a candidate to be part of this. And like I said, I am thrilled that you're here and supporting us and standing with us. And Andrea has a plan that excites us and gets the province excited to take care of the province and to fix the damage that's been done over the years and unravel it. I know we can do it because I've seen the fire in her belly. I've seen how passionate she is about this sort of thing. And I know we're going to do it with New Democrats from Sudbury and New Democrats from Nickel Belt and New Democrats from across the province. Please put your hands together. Help me in welcoming our leader, the next Premier of Ontario, Andrea Horwath.
Well, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Bonjour tout le monde. Comment ça va? Ça va bien. Très bien, très bien. It is my absolute pleasure to be here in Sudbury once again with all you passionate and excited and, capable New Democrats, because you're going to do something pretty special in this riding, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, this is a great community. It's a community that is full of hardworking and passionate people who believe that it's important that we take care of each other as we go through life and as we build our own families and our own lives. But, you know, we've had a government for far too long that has forgotten what it is that people expect out of their government, right? I mean, we are now in a position where we're heading into Election day. What are we? 27 days to Election day. And this election is really all about what comes next for Ontario, right? We've seen, as was described by Jamie, that governments for too long have not paid attention to the most important things that people need in order to build a good life, right? We've seen Liberals and Conservatives over decades in office in this province, and people are still struggling to make ends meet. I think we can do much better than that, don't you? I think we can do much better than that. You know, as I've watched France Jelena, our MPP candidate for Nickel Belt, in her role as the critic, the health critic for the province of Ontario for the NDP caucus, I've watched France bring issues forward on behalf of people in this community that have really illustrated what's broken, what Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals broke in our province, right? I mean, I do want to say how thrilled I am to finally be able to come to Sudbury and find out that the PET scanner is actually getting installed. 10 long years later, the PET scanner is being installed, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge not only the great work that France has done and many others of you have done, but also the Bruno family. And what passionate people the Bruno family have been in making sure that they followed the path that they knew was necessary to make sure that PET scanner was a reality for the people of Sudbury. But you know, France has also brought all kinds of other stories forward that show what Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals have done to our health system. You know, Health Sciences North is a fantastic facility. Fantastic, great professionals working there, nurses, doctors, frontline healthcare workers. It's a great place, absolutely. But when you have an 84-year-old woman named Olive who spends 20 days in a hospital TV room instead of a proper hospital room. In fact, one night she spent in a shower room. Do you recall that story? Horrifying, horrifying. Or the story of Leo, who spent, what was it, like almost 2 weeks, right? 13 days or something like that. Again, not able to get a bed in an actual hospital room. Instead, he was shoved into, of all things, a bathroom with his pillow right beside a toilet. Is that the way we want people to receive health care in our hospitals? No! Absolutely not. No dignity, no privacy, no nurse call bell. That is not what the people of this community or any other community in our province deserve. We've seen the cuts that have done so much damage from Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. We've seen the cancellation of the Northlander rail service, right? We've seen the lack of attention to the winter road maintenance concerns that people here in Northern Ontario have. It's like these problems don't exist in terms of the Premier's perspective. But you know, I don't think Doug Ford is going to be the right answer for the challenges that Northerners face. I mean, this is somebody who is going to cut even further, even deeper. It is going to be even more painful. And all the while, he's going to be giving his very rich friends and very rich corporations huge tax cuts. Well, how are we going to make sure that our hospitals are able to serve the public? How are we going to make sure that people have an affordable life? That's not going to happen with Mr. Ford and the Conservatives. But I have some good news. It doesn't have to be this way. It absolutely doesn't have to be this way. There is hope for the future of this province. We can make a positive difference in people's lives. We can bring change for the better to Sudbury and to the rest of the province. And so our plan includes a number of extremely important things that all Ontarians will benefit from. Everything from affordable childcare for every family that needs it. Great to see the families that are here. truly universal pharmacare for everybody, no matter how old you are or where you live or where you work. Dental care for everyone. And I want to just say, since we're in the riding that was represented by somebody who became the Minister of Energy, we can bring Hydro One back into public ownership and get people's bills down. Yes, we can do that. So our plan for change for the better includes making sure that young people don't graduate with a mountain of debt and they get some opportunities for the future. And we're not afraid to ask those wealthiest corporations, the richest people amongst us, to pay a little bit more to help us get these things done. We're not afraid to do that. But as we implement these changes, we're not going to forget communities like Sudbury. We're not going to forget Northern Ontario. We're going to make sure the winter road maintenance is looked after so you don't have to worry every time you get on a highway. And we know how often you have to do that. We're going to stop the gas gouging at the pumps. We know how much more Northerners pay for gas. We are going to make sure that Northerners are able to access the kind of healthcare services that they deserve, recognizing that your communities are unique, and we need to specialize the funding for communities like Sudbury and other northern communities to acknowledge that they're different than the communities in southern Ontario. I want to say something particularly about Jamie. Jamie is somebody who has dedicated his life to helping other people. He's a proud steelworker, so while I'm at it, I want to mention a thank you to the United Steelworkers and to the Sudbury District Labour Council for all of your support. And that reminds me, working people are important. It's working people that create the wealth that the big corporations are able to be able to scoop up and not share enough of. But it's really important, I think, to acknowledge that working people have been having a difficult time over the years. I don't think Mr. Ford's going to change that. I think that it's pretty clear that Kathleen Wynne has fallen short and decided to make some changes right before an election, because I think that's what she thought would benefit her the most instead of everyday working people. But I can tell you that we all in this room know that when it comes to working people, the best way for a working person to join the middle class is to do it with a union card. And so we are going to... So we're also going to make sure that people are able to get card check certification to make it easier for people to join the union. And we're going to bring first contract arbitration into place so that people can bargain that first contract in a fair way. We're excited about those changes for working people. And so, my friends, I'm so glad that you've all come out today to hear us talk about our exciting plan for the future. We do not have to accept the kind of Ontario that has been left to us by a couple of decades of Liberals and Conservatives. It's our job to let people know they don't have to keep bouncing back and forth between bad and worse, that there is actually an opportunity to really change this province for the better. That's the NDP plan, and we are going to elect Jamie West here in Sudbury and re-elect France Gelina in Nickel Belt. And we're going to do that with all of your help. So thank you all very much for being here, sisters and brothers, friends and family members. Onward and upward, we're going to take this area by storm. And on June 7th, we will begin implementing change for the better in the province of Ontario. Thank you so much.
NDP.
Thanks, folks. That's awesome. Thank you.
Local Sudbury media here, as well as people we brought along with us. So, Andrea?
Yeah, so I'll take any questions that folks might have. This is for media. I'll answer your questions later.
Sorry, Andrea.
Sure.
With Peter Groffman with Canadian Press, I just want to know what you think it means that Doug Ford has commented on Kathleen Wynne's smile now in both of the most recent debates.
Awkward? I mean, I don't know. It's awkward, I can tell you that. It seems pretty awkward to me. I don't know why he's doing that, but you'd have to ask him why he feels that he needs to do that each and every time we get to a debate.
Do you think he respects women?
Well, you know, I think that we have to be careful about what Mr. Ford stands for. He's not being very upfront with people about what it is that he does stand for. He's not being honest about the cuts and how deep and painful they're going to be. And as I said to him at the debate today, I challenge him to put a full platform out there so that people can actually see who Doug Ford is.
Wyman CTV, one question. I don't want to block anyone's view. Gas prices appear to be hot north, but in the south, and you mentioned the possibility of regulating that through an ombudsman. Perhaps you could explain how you want to go about saving us the summer of discontent this year with maybe some cheaper gas prices.
Well, I want to first of all say that this is not something that isn't already being done in other jurisdictions. So for those people like Kathleen Wynne and Doug Ford who don't think that it can be done, I can tell you it absolutely can be done, and it is being done in other jurisdictions. And so there are two pieces to our plan. One is making sure that we have transparency around the extra costs that Northerners are paying for fuel. It's regularly anywhere from 7 or 8 cents up to 12, 13 cents more in the north, depending on what region of the north you're in, than it is down south. We don't have any way to we certainly don't have a government that's been prepared to make sure that there's transparency around how those prices are set and why they differ so much even between regions in Northern Ontario. So we're going to regulate that piece of it. We know that the price of gas per se is determined in the markets in New York, but there are lots of fluctuations that we can get a handle on. So that's the one. The other big one is that gouging that occurs at before a long weekend, for example. You know, you're driving home on a Thursday and you've got 1,000 things to do. You got to stop at the grocery store. You got to get home and make dinner. The last thing you have time for is to fill up in gas, but you just have this niggling feeling that as you drive past that gas station, when you drive by it in the morning, because it's going to be Friday morning of a long weekend, all of a sudden the price is going to be up by 5 or 6 or 7 cents. We are going to get rid of that kind of gouging at the pumps. There is no excuse for it. Yeah, there's no excuse for it. So the way that we will do that is we will set the price at one day of the week, likely a Monday or a Sunday, and you can be sure that the gas price will stay the same until the following Sunday or Monday, and all week long it'll be the same price. You won't be gouged at the beginning of a long weekend.
Hi, Mary Catherine Kewen from the Sudbury Star. So I met with the Ontario Health Coalition today, earlier, and they said we need about $1 billion going into the healthcare system to remedy the problems across the province with hospitals. So where's that money going to come from?
Mary Catherine, thank you for the question, and I can assure you that when you look at our platform, which, by the way, we put online, we launched 2 weeks ago, before the campaign even started. It's fully costed. It is online at ontariondp.ca/platform. And we have a number of investments across healthcare. We have $19 billion of extra funding for new hospitals and repairs. We have an annual 5.3% increase in hospital funding to help them deal with the crisis that the Liberals, Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals have put our hospitals in. We've put a moratorium on the layoff of any further frontline healthcare workers. The list is long, but that's just for the hospitals. We also have a plan for long-term care, including expanding the public inquiry in long-term care, which is currently underway, because we don't think that a narrow scope on the Wettlaufer, those heinous Wettlaufer murders, that awful crime that happened, we don't think that that's good enough. We need to take a hard look at what's happening in long-term care. So within the first 100 days in office, we'll expand the public inquiry and we'll take a find and fix approach to fix the problems in long-term care. We also have plans for home care. We have plans for making sure that PSWs are able to work good jobs in the home care sector. We have plans for mental health care. In fact, we're going to bring a completely separate ministry of mental health and addictions into place to really put some focus on mental health and addictions care. We have a number of different plans. We have plans for supportive housing so that folks that can't, make it on their own have some supports to live independently. We have plans to hire 2,600 more mental health workers. So as you look at our platform, we've made many investments across the healthcare spectrum. And how we're going to pay for them is this. Unlike Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals, and unlike Doug Ford and the Conservatives, who, both of those parties, protect the rich insiders that they are friends with. In fact, Doug Ford says he's going to give $20 billion in tax cuts to the wealthiest, the richest people, and the richest corporations. That's Doug Ford's plan. Our plan is the opposite. We are going to ask the richest people in our province and the richest corporations to chip in just a little bit more, and I can give you the details if you like, a little bit more in taxes so that we can make sure that we're providing affordable childcare. We're fixing our healthcare system. We're making sure that young people have opportunity. We're bringing Hydro One back into public hands and making it work for the people again. But I think it's important. I think it's really important to know that we know that everyday families are struggling. We know that everyday folks need some help to build a good life in our province, something that we would have never thought we would have to worry about. But I know that we worry about it ourselves, and I know that we worry about it for the next generation. So I want to make clear that New Democrats will not in any way, shape, or form, make life harder for middle class and lower income families. We are going to protect you. We're going to protect those folks. And instead, we're going to make life better for everyone in our province.
The local riding here has a bit of a controversial history in the past couple of elections and so on. Due to that history, do you place a bit more importance on this riding to try to pick this one up? Will the Sudbury riding be a bit personal?
Well, you know what? I always feel personal about the people of Sudbury. They've become my very good friends over the last number of years. Look, this campaign is really about making life better for people. And as I've described some of the things that France has brought to the legislature on behalf of the people surrounding this riding per se, so the Nickel Belt riding, I think it's really, really clear that we can do so much better than what people have seen from Kathleen Wynne and what they've seen from Conservatives in the past. Let's not forget, the Conservatives, last time they were in office, they closed 28 hospitals. They fired 6,000 nurses. We are going to do the opposite of what Mr. Ford has done and what Ms. Wynne has done, and we're going to make sure the people of Sudbury have a local representative that is fighting for them each and every day in the legislature. And, you know, if there's one thing I have to say, just to the good folks that are here, I do feel badly that that debacle occurred, that you all had to deal with in terms of the process that Kathleen Wynne chose to undertake around the nominations last time around. And it was something that your communities had to deal with now for a number of years. And all I can say is that we don't have that problem. We got this guy nominated in a contested nomination because we're a democratic process party and we let every riding choose their own candidate.
One thing that seemed obvious during the Northern Leaders debate today, or the Northern debate today, was that Doug Ford was spending a lot more attention on you than he was on the Premier. What did you think of that, and are you prepared for more negative tax from the Tories?
Well, I mean, again, I believe this election campaign is about the people of Ontario and the choice that they have to make, and it's an important choice. They have had Conservative and Liberal governments for a couple of decades now, and folks are finding it hard to make ends meet. They're finding it difficult to build a good life. I'm going to keep my focus on letting people know that it doesn't have to be this way, that we can have change for the better. We can have a government that puts people at the heart of every single decision that gets made, and that's what we're offering to Ontarians.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.